We're just going to start.
British place names can be tricky to pronounce.
Take this place. Looks simple. But what if we told you it was
Grimsby.
pronounced
We'd be lying, it's Grimsby.
But other places can be genuinely fiddly for foreigners.
And tourists who get it wrong risk being imprisoned or killed.
In today's programme,
Imagine.
we're going to ask why British place names are so hard to pronounce.
Is there an and coming?
No, I'm done.
Welcome to Map Men.
We're the men.
And here's the map.
Map men, map men, map.
The reason that this video came about for me was because I was on the phone with a friend from the UK, and he texted me the name of his city. I pronounced it to be Derbyshire. My mind wants to pronounce all of the letters in the word as it is seen, and he laughed. I mean, he laughed. He laughed way more than I think is necessary. But anyway, he told me the correct pronunciation was Derbyshire. And that sounds completely unnatural off of my tongue. I'm going to look for one of those people who pronounce words and insert the proper pronunciation here. Hold on. Okay.
Derbyshire.
I mean, I was close. I think that if you don't have this accent, it's just not going to sound correct. It's one of those. But anyway, he sent me this video. So here we are.
Map men.
I don't know these two yet.
There are difficult to pronounce place names all over the world.
California has Zizix, Slovenia has Ptuj, Greenland has...
Kekertarsuit.
Even Welsh natives struggle with this one.
And tonight we can expect to see heavy showers spreading from the west into
Is that real?
Wales.
But deliberately hard to pronounce names invented for promotional purposes like Llanfai Pwllgwyn Gwrgogera Drobl Llantysilio Gogogoch aside,
Show off.
British place names
Impressive.
cause more trouble than most because they often look straightforward but contain nonsensical phonetic traps that are impossible to predict.
Try this one.
Go on, say it out loud, in your room or on your train.
Fromy?
Ha 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 ha. Wrong, it's not Frome.
F-R-O-M-E, it should be blitheringly obvious, is pronounced Froome.
But if you did say Frome, don't worry, you're in good company.
I was taking a big risk there by pronouncing that final E that goes against grammar rules. But I know this girl from Australia, that is her surname, and she pronounces it Fromy. So I really thought I was doing something there. Okay.
Frome is officially the most mispronounced place name in Britain, and that's according to a proper survey.
Excuse me, could you mispronounce Froome for me?
Portsmouth.
That'll do. There's nothing more fun than laughing at tourists who don't know how to say something properly simply because they're from a different country and could never reasonably be expected to have predicted a local pronunciation that contradicts the basic rules of language.
So, we've created the
So
perfect
true.
travel agent's itinerary for maximising tourist humiliation across the country.
Starting in Biaulio,
Beauty,
head over to Rampisham,
Ransom,
then down to
Ransom.
Mousehole.
Mousehole,
Next, travel north up to Towcester,
Toaster,
then a quick jaunt to Gotham,
Gotham,
followed by a stop in Quernmore,
Quorma,
before finishing up in Alnwick.
Annie, which is near Newcastle.
Or, as the people from the city itself say, Newcastle.
When will they learn?
Being completely honest with you, I would have gotten all of those incorrect aside from Newcastle. But I think this happens in multiple languages because over the weekend I was at this Halloween party. A guy came in with his British girlfriend and he was translating English to Spanish for her so she could converse with the people. And in one moment, I overheard her say that it was her first time in Bogota. And this guy whipped his neck around so quickly. It's like her pronunciation was a jump scare to him. And he was telling her, no, there's an accent mark on the final A. It's pronounced Bogota. Accent marks make all the difference, but it makes me happy that English doesn't have that many words with accent marks. In fact, the only ones that I can think of are words that are on loan from France. Maybe there are some outliers though. But yeah, these linguistic videos I could watch all day. I like how etymology and history fuse together. And I'm a nerd.
As you can hear, no letter of the English alphabet is safe from being pronounced any of dozens of different ways.
Including not at all.
Thankfully, there are some general rules you can stick to, and because we're nice, we'll help the un-British amongst you through a couple of basics.
Cester
Please do.
is pronounced stir.
Leicester, Worcester, Gloucester,
W at the start of the final syllable is silent.
Norwich, Berwick, Southwark,
ER is pronounced R.
Berkshire, Clerkenwell, Hertfordshire.
But before you get too reassured, for every rule in the English language there are always exceptions, such as the cester in,
Cirencester,
the W in,
Sandwich.
and the sound in.
Oh, this is disgusting. Oh, sorry, Berkhamsted.
which is in Hertfordshire.
The only way to be absolutely sure of pronouncing British place names correctly is to live here long enough to learn every single one of them one at a time. Sorry.
Really.
So who were the complete anchors that invented these rules?
It's time for an English lesson.
To make an English language, you start with the base of Germanic Anglo-Saxon. Mix in a healthy dash of Old Norse, a huge dollop of Norman French, and just a barely detectable hint of Celtic. Trust me, it'll make all the difference. Stir it up for hundreds of years until the vowels really start to shift, and then English.
Excitingly, by looking at a map of Britain today, we can clearly see which invaders influenced our language where by plotting the origins of British place names. This marvellous, messy, multicoloured map, which languages different British place names belong to, and is a living history of our early settlers and subsequent invaders.
The oldest place names here are of Celtic origin. This is where you'll find all the place names with words like Tre, Loch, Bryn and Aber,
Such as Aberystwyth, meaning the mouth, Aber, of the River Istwyth.
which coincidentally is exactly where we find Aberystwyth today.
Celtic languages were once spoken all across the British Isles, but are now reduced to a small minority of mountain dwellers. And that's because low-lying Middle England Brits turned out to be more worse at resisting invading armies.
First up were the
More
Romans,
worse.
who brought in Britain's Latin influences.
Like the rumba.
No, like boring Latin.
Anywhere that ends in caster, cester, chester, or xeter was a Roman fort, from the Latin word castra, meaning Roman fort.
But the Romans didn't stay long, so although their naming system was long-lasting, the actual names they used weren't, which is perhaps unsurprising when we learn they used names like Castra Exploratorum and Belgic Oppidum.
Which was sensibly renamed Braintree.
Next, in light pink, we have the biggest group, Germanic Anglo-Saxon.
Any place containing the words Ham, Hurst, Lee, Bury, Ford, Port, Mere, Stead, Tunstall, Wick, Witch or Mere are of good old Anglo-Saxon origin and massively dominate southern England.
Like Buckingham.
Or a low-lying area of land belonging to an Anglo-Saxon called Bucca.
Perhaps the most upheavaling thing to happen to Britain's place names was the Vikings, who swept in from Scandinavia in the 9th century, committing brutal crimes including rape, pillage and the renaming of small to medium-sized settlements.
You can tell a place was named by the Vikings if it ends in Thwaite, Thorpe, Kirk or B.
Such as our old friend Grimsby, named after an important Viking called Grim, famed for his infectious positive energy. Grimsby literally means
A lot of these suffixes are in people's surnames, so now I feel like I can kind of gauge where their ancestry is from.
Grim's village.
Really?
We're all familiar with these common settlement suffixes, but what's so striking is how clearly this map of Viking place names reflects the extent of the Viking invasions. You can practically see the exact location of the Danelaw dividing Viking and Anglo-Saxon England without needing to draw it on with thick red pen.
Following all these invasions, Britain was littered with
can.
place names that originated in different languages and accents. But the final thing that would make its place names truly unpronounceable was time.
Over hundreds of years, locals who were too busy to pronounce all the syllables in Cester reduced it to stir to save time. But they couldn't read or write, so
How are you saying this? I don't know, I'm going to put a picture there. But I would say Worcestershire. Now I'm second guessing it though after watching this video. Delicious with a steak. Pivotal with a Bloody Mary.
the spelling stayed the same.
And while the English language has continued to gradually evolve, our place names haven't, resulting in a language landscape littered with phonetic booby traps.
But what about Froome?
Portishead.
Which linguistic group is responsible for Britain's so-called hardest place name?
Unusually for a place name in England, Froome is from a surviving Celtic word, frama, which means fair, fine or brisk, probably describing the flow of its lovely river.
It's not really
Beautiful.
surprising that the oldest language in these islands is the one that's drifted the furthest from pronounceability.
So don't forget to join us for the next episode of Map Men.
Is that the end of your sentence?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Can you think of any other places that are difficult to pronounce? Or are pronounced differently than they're spelled? I think that Edinburgh should be an honorable mention there. Also, we've talked about this in previous videos, but Qatar. I always say that I do not accept Qatar as a proper pronunciation. And since the last time we talked about it on this channel, I met someone from there, the only person I know from there now, and he pronounced it Qatar. It sounded right to me at the time. Maybe I'm saying it incorrectly now. If you know how to say that, spell it phonetically for us, please.
Golly darn tootin' gee whiz, hot diggity woo!
What are you doing?
I'm putting on an American accent to fool my computer into thinking I'm in America.
Yippee-ki-wee, buckaroo!
Why are you doing that?
Because I want to watch all my favourite programmes on Netflix.
But you've already got Netflix.
Yes, but American Netflix has programmes that we don't get on
okay,
UK
this is an
Netflix,
ad.
including, curiously, some British
Likely
programmes.
for a
So that's why I'm
VPN. Hold on, let me find you their code just in case you want it.
all the content I want.
Yep, it was.
Suit yourself.
For Surfshark, here's their code for you. I'll keep it on the page. Anyway, I liked this video. It's from a channel called Jay Foreman. I'm not sure which one of them is Jay, but I'm going to link the specific video and this channel in the description in case you find any other videos you want to recommend to me in the future. But I think a lot of these difficulties could expand beyond just British English and cover English in general, because there are so many words I could think of that are pronounced differently than they're written. If you can think of any examples, write them down. City, state, province, county, whatever, wherever. If you have any more videos like this that you want to recommend to me, please feel free to do that. And for a literary recommendation, I've already recommended Wittgenstein's Tractatus, and that is a difficult read, so I won't do that again. How about... I need some time to think about it. Hold on.
A few minutes later.
Okay, there's a book called Adrift in Soho. It's set in the UK in the 50s. Really, the setting is the only reason I'm recommending it to you today, because it doesn't have anything to do with language specifically, but it has to do with this man. He's moving from his small town to London, and he gets very stuck into this artist society. It's in the Beat generation. In the last video, I recommended Allen Ginsberg, so it's about the same time, but different country. Also, if you want a book by Allen Ginsberg, maybe instead of reading one of his novels, he has a book of poetry called Howl that I will link in the description as well, in case you want a appetizer to him. But if you can think of another book on etymology, language, anything of the sort, feel free to let us know the title down below. Other than that, it's really all I've got for you today. So, as always, just thank you for watching with me, and I will catch you in the next.